I'm Jeff Fritz with SoundStage.com, and I'm joined today by Jim Thompson. He is the president of EgglestonWorks Loudspeakers in Tennessee, USA. Jim, how are you today?
Hey, Jeff, doing great. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. You know, it's been a while. I think the last time that we probably saw each other was Munich, Munich's high end, and that was a few years ago. So really, the reason for the interview today, I really just wanted to catch up with you and find out a little bit about what's going on with EgglestonWorks. So with that, let's jump right in. And really, the first question is, give us an update on the EgglestonWorks product line. I know that you guys have had some new product introductions, maybe some other products have been discontinued. So kind of walk us through the EgglestonWorks loudspeaker line.
Sure. The line currently consists of 9 models. We pared that down about 3 years ago. We were up to about 15 models of speakers, and it was unmanageable from our standpoint. It was unmanageable from the dealers. The customers couldn't keep it straight. It was just too much. So we went through and we just pulled out what we thought was maybe a little too closely related to another speaker, or maybe just to get some fresh looks in the line. So we're at 8 models. And then within those 8 models, we have 3 different tiers. So we have what we call the Artisan series, the Statement series, and the Reference series. And the reason for doing that, several companies do that, where they have it's maybe a dealer just wants to be an Artisan dealer, which is our lower level. That's fine. That's all they have. They're all required to carry. It also helps keep it straight when they've got to keep track of lots of different models. So the Artisan is the entry level point. That's the Nico, the Emma, and the new Oso. Those round that out. So when you see them in pictures, that you'll see why they're in a line together. They have kind of a similar shape, the little more curves to it, a little softer edges, I guess. And then above that is the Statement series. So that's the Kiva, the Andra, the Camilla. I did those out of order. The Camilla, the Andra going up, and the Vigenti. And then the Reference series is above that. So that's really the Savoy and the Ivy signatures, which are more of we call them more of our professional line, but that's mainly because they were adopted early on by mastering engineers, things like that. But we sell way more to customers than the private customers than we do professionals.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. One of the things that drives me crazy with some manufacturers is their product lines. They're so scattered, and you really can't make heads or tails of it. It's hard to figure out what's what, and what's better than the other model. And so the fact that you guys have put some thought into that, you've pared the model line down, it makes a lot of sense. And then the other thing that you mentioned about having the 3 tiers, that certainly makes sense too, because when it's been my experience that when a consumer looks at your line, you want them to instantly be able to tell, okay, this is good, this is better, this is best. It kind of instantly slots them into whatever their expenditure level is, whatever they're willing to invest in their loudspeaker system. So yeah, I really, really like that. Well, you mentioned one other thing about one of your newest speakers, which is the Oso, and that's in the Artisan line. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about, your newest speaker. Tell us about the Oso.
Sure. The Oso came out. We brought the Oso out horribly timed at the beginning of 2020. We had a prototype that we took to the Tampa show. I think that may be the last place we saw each other, but it wasn't finished cosmetically. It wasn't where it needed to be. And we thought, well, that's fine. We'll just take it to Expona, and then we'll take it to Munich, and we'll get all of that exposure. And then we know how 2020 went. So the Oso came in at a point in the line that we had a really big gap in pricing. And I wanted to have one more speaker in that Artisan entry level line, but I wanted it to be the top of that line. And I think what we've done with the Oso is this, I call it the best bang for the buck speaker. It retails just under $13,000 a pair. And we tried to keep that kind of sleek look. We wanted to do two things that were opposing, which is keep a slender, smaller footprint speaker, but also produce a tremendous amount of low end bass response. Those are opposites, right? Because you want a big woofer and you want a big box to get a lot of bass usually. So we cheated a little bit and we put a side firing 10-inch woofer on the Oso, and it's amazing. And what we didn't count on was that it works in a big room just like it does in a small room. It's pretty amazing. And I think it was a testament to it being a great speaker, because the dealers usually use those shows to come, test drive the speakers and see what they're like, and then maybe pick up a couple for demos. They didn't get that chance, so they were kind of going in blind and took the speakers. And now I think we looked up the other day, we have about 30 pair on the production list right now. So
Wow.
It's a pretty good testament to that model. It fits in really nicely with a lot of our dealers too. So we're pretty happy with it, and we're going to take it to Munich in May if Munich happens. We're planning to be there, so we'll have it there. People can see it.
Now remind everyone. Give us the drive unit breakdown on the Oso. I think is it a 3-way or a 3.5-way? Give us the scoop on that.
Yeah, it's a 3-way. So it's a single 1-inch dome tweeter, 2 6-inch mids, and the 10-inch side firing woofer.
Yeah, I really like the side firing woofer. Not a lot of manufacturers do that these days, I don't think. But it does give you that from the front. It gives you that visually sleek profile, or at least frontal view. And it reminds me, actually, going way back in EgglestonWorks history, of the Rosa, at least from the front. The Rosa had more drivers vertically aligned. They didn't have the side firing woofer, but it still gave you that nice sleek look from the front. And I think you guys have accomplished that. And then, like you said, with the bass extension, that big woofer down low gives you, that seems like it would be a good fit for a lot of people.
Yeah, the Rosa was always the speaker that everybody said was the sexiest speaker in the line. Just, it had some neat lines to it, and the curves on the faceplates in the later renditions really look nice. Yeah, I mean, that was the goal. We didn't want to have this big footprint. The softer thing about the Artisan line, the Emma and the Nico already was the curves and that curved side panel, and we didn't want to get away from that and make something big and bulky that would ruin a little bit of that kind of I don't know. I think of it as more of a feminine shape speaker, but that's just silly. I don't know, but that's kind of the way I think about it.
Yeah. Well, one other thing I wanted to ask you about, because you guys are pretty renowned these days for your automotive grade paint finishes, and not only that, but you're not just doing black and silver and white. Like some manufacturers, that's pretty much what you can get. You guys do some wild colors. So tell us a little bit about maybe the craziest color you guys have painted a loudspeaker recently.
Yeah, the automotive paint finishes, it creates a little bit of a challenge, because we can't really stock finish speakers, and so it increases a little bit of that lead time. But I think when people are getting an absolutely custom color, they're okay with a few more weeks. But yeah, the colors are crazy because it's automotive. We get people sending us pictures of cars to do, and what looks good on a car sometimes doesn't look great on a speaker. But we did do an Alfa Romeo, like this very mustard yellow recently. We did it for a mastering engineer up in Maine, and they ended up looking great. A pair of Vigintis, so you can imagine it's a pretty big speaker, but it's yellow, like it is
Wow.
It's yellow. And then we just did a pair in a color called Plum Crazy Purple, which is a really apropos name for that color. It is absolutely crazy, but it ended up looking really good, and I think they're going to love it. So you can personalize these things to your own specific taste, I guess.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the cars versus loudspeaker thing. When I see some of the photos of some loudspeaker colors, I always think, that's initially very attractive, but would I grow tired of it?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you're going to own, the loudspeakers for 3, 4, 5 years or whatever it is, are you going to want to walk in and see that every single day? And some of the colors, the answer is yes. It's just going to be fantastic. It's going to age well. And then some of the other colors, you're going to be like, ooh, I don't know, man. That's not going to work long term.
We did a pair of Andrews in a blue that I was calling it Smurf blue forever while it was being painted. And then it got finished and it went to the dealer and he sent me pictures once it was installed in the customer's house. And I was like, okay, that's amazing. Like I get it now. So there was
Right.
some thought put into the setting that it was going into, not just what the speaker was. And I was sold. I was like, that's amazing. I would never have thought in a million years that was going to be a good idea, but it works out. So it's
Yeah, and I guess that's something you guys don't see. You guys don't really necessarily see the environment that it's going into. So that's definitely a variable that you can't take into account. But well, anyway, well, on to the next question, Jim. What's going on with Eggleston Works and the R&D department? I know you guys are constantly working on things there in Tennessee. Tell us a little bit, what you can about what's coming in 2022 and maybe even into 2023 from you guys.
sure. A couple of things. I mean, we're always working on something that's, there's an R&D project constantly all the time. And what we run into is just time to work on it. We're a small shop and don't have a group that's just doing R&D. But one of the things that we really aren't going to talk about specifically, we're working on a revamp of a current model. It's going to be a big deal when it comes out, so it's got to be right. But I'm not ready to talk about that one yet in detail. That's probably a year and a half out. We are working on a new flagship. So the current flagship is the Ivy signature that you've heard here at our factory. And it's the current top of the line. We had a request about 2 years ago for a commission product that would be a kind of a no holds barred speaker for a customer. And it's really hard to do one-off speakers because you can't amortize R&D off over one speaker, and it ends up just being very costly. But we made a deal with the person who commissioned it. If we could tweak the cosmetics enough where it would look different than the one that they wanted, then we could make it a production model. And so we're working on that. It's an over the top crazy, 7.5, 8 foot tall speaker with 8 12-inch woofers per speaker, and tons of mids and a 7 in. I think it's 7 tweeters per side in like a line array. So it's
Wow.
it's pretty cool.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, I'm no stranger to flagship loudspeakers. I love to hear about them and see them and listen to them. And let me put myself into a little quiz here, and because I think I remember the year that the Ivy, which is your current flagship, I know that it's undergone some changes and it's now in, I think you said, a signature version, but I think I remember hearing the Ivy, if I'm not mistaken, and I may be completely off on this, at the 1997 Stereophile show in Los Angeles. I think that's where it was introduced. Am I right on that, or am I off?
97 or 98? You're right.
Okay.
It probably is 97 because it was in LA. You're right. Yeah, that was the first one. That was the one. That was the original one was a commissioned product as well. Bob Ludwig said, "Make me a big tall Andra," was what his his marching orders were. So we made the Ivy, and that speaker that went to that show is the pair that ended up at Gateway Mastering.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So
no, I remember that speaker. I remember walking in. I remember looking at it and just being amazed. And I remember listening to it and being amazed. And then I remember talking to someone, and I don't know if it was you. I really have no clue about the, I'm not sure exactly what you call it, the compound loading of the bass drivers, where you had, multiple woofers mounted in a, I don't know what you would call it, but basically front to back. Is it an isobaric type loading or?
Yeah, isobaric is, I guess, compound. You can a few different names, but yeah, the reason we took that into the Ivy was that the Andra uses that in the bass section, the original Andra and even the Andra 3 signature today, and that was just playing off of that request of making a really big Andra. So we took that into the Ivy. We've gotten away from that for the new speaker. That compound loading is a blessing and a curse. It does so many things really well, but you don't get visual credit for things you can't see.
So, that's a good point.
Sometimes the customers don't understand maybe that there's more drivers inside and they want to see them. So we brought them all outside for the new one.
Gotcha. Well, when will the speaker be launched? Do you have even a tentative date at this point?
Well, it's going to be this year. It probably we'll probably launch it first in China. They've got a show. Well, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully they'll have a show, but toward the end of the year. We thought we'd bring it out in Munich this year. When we were looking forward back in 2020, no one thought 2022 was going to be so crazy as it still is. And so I think not having it ready is okay now, but I anticipate this year.
Okay.
Getting it out in the world. And again, it's a fun product to do. It's not something we anticipate selling a ton of, but it'll get some notice and pictures taken and people
now
talking.
Last question on that. Is there a tentative retail price on that speaker?
Not yet. But
okay.
The current I can tell you the current retail on the Ivy is 175.
Okay.
So it's going to be well above that.
Gotcha. Well, Jim, thanks so much. Are you guys going to Munich? Will EgglestonWorks be displaying there if the show? It looks like it's going to happen. That's what I'm hearing. Are you guys going to be there?
Yeah, we'll be there. We're showing. We'll have our usual room, and we've got Cardis is going to be in our room. Doshi amplifiers will be in there, and J Sakura turntables from Poland. So we've got a pretty good group. So I hope it goes off without a hitch and everybody comes. So
yeah, well, me too. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Well, Jim, thanks a lot for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I know all the SoundStage readers and viewers of our YouTube channel, they love EgglestonWorks for the most part, and it's good to get an update to see what you guys are up to. And certainly with the big news, with the new flagship coming, that's awesome. So, Jim, have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll see you in Munich in just a couple months.
Great. Thanks for thinking of us, and I appreciate it. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.